Are you looking for the best HELOCs in 2025? If so, let's jump in. Hey guys, I'm Tyler Wehrung here, the author of Unlocking Millions, the ultimate guide to using and investing with the HELOC. I've spent many hours of my life devoted all about HELOCs and trying to find the best HELOCs for you guys. It is a hard task to do because HELOCs are always changing and pivoting, but in today's video, I'm going to look at the top 8 HELOCs as rated by a company called Bazinga and give you my thoughts and tell you how I go about evaluating them. I think the how will help you more than looking at the specific HELOCs themselves so that you can go out, talk to companies, and know exactly how to evaluate them yourself. In my book, I also did include a separate workbook that has a phone guide, the Ultimate HELOC phone guide that walks you through every question I recommend that you talk about with your specific HELOC lender. It tells you to ask about every little fee that they could nail you with later in the process. This helps you evaluate HELOCs apples to apples so that you can compare them. And I always recommend you talk to at least 3 lenders before you move forward so you know whether or not you're getting a good HELOC or a bad one. You'll see in just a second, there are some bad ones out there. So my intent here is to save you guys money. I don't get anything from this. I don't have any affiliates with any specific lenders. But with all of that, I'm going to share my screen and we'll start looking at some HELOCs. All right, guys. So without further ado, this company called Bazinga, full disclosure, I don't know anything about this company, but several of you guys sent me this link and say, hey, can you share your thoughts on these lenders that are called out in here? So for 2025, they did all the research here, so I can't guarantee what they're saying is true. But again, I'm going to talk to you guys about what they are, how I think about them, and how I recommend you go out and look for these HELOC lenders. So let's jump in here. So here are the 8 best HELOC lenders based on different varieties of things. So best HELOC for credit, for veterans, etc. So I'm just going to walk through, look at all of the pros and cons that are mentioned here about each one of these lenders and share my thoughts, starting with rate.com. Okay, this is best, according to Bazinga, best for fast HELOC payouts. All right, so for rate.com, we'll start out looking at the kind of the core 4 here that all of them will have that we'll use as a kind of a high level compare. So a minimum credit score for rate.com is a 620. That is a little bit higher than I think is typical. 80% LTV. It's pretty standard. You'll find some that can go higher than that. Average payout time, 5 to 10 days. I would say that is definitely on the fast side. And they are a national lender, which, of course, is always good to know. Let's see. They didn't really give me the pros and cons about this one. It sounds like it's really just a way to get a fast HELOC. You have to dig here for more of the details on that. If they can get it in 5 to 10 days, I would call that a fast HELOC. Next, we'll go over to best overall HELOC lender, and this is Bethpage Federal Credit Union. Okay, I like how they did this one, more of the pros and cons. They'll give us more actual info. So this one is some of the pros. Promotional introductory rate. That's always good. That is one of the questions that I have in the guide, my phone guide, is to ask about introductory rates. Even if they don't have one as a standard piece of their system, you get some of these smaller lenders and you ask that question like, hey, would you be willing to lock this in at this rate if I sign up today? You know, something like that. So always ask. No closing costs. This is what I like to scream from the mountaintops. Do not pay closing costs for a HELOC. If they give you closing costs, run, because you can get these open for free. So why would you pay to get them open? All right. So that is a pro. Fixed rate. That is something that's great if you can find them. Oftentimes, I see fixed rates are associated with HELOCs with those higher closing costs. So again, you have to weigh your pros and cons there. But for here, we have no closing costs and a fixed rate option. Highly rated mobile app, I typically don't care about stuff like that. Trustpilot rating, I mean, it's good to know that your lender is trustworthy. Some of the cons, higher max LTV with other lenders, slower funding than other lenders, and limited branches outside of Long Island. Again, see, some of these I don't really care about if they have a physical branch. If I can wire these funds out of that account, I don't care if you have a branch outside of Long Island. I don't know what this LTV is. Let's see if we can find anything here. Okay, fixed rate as low as 699. That is great in terms of HELOCs. Your HELOC payment is going to be a little bit higher than what you typically see on the mortgage market. That's for the first 12 months, and then it jumps up a little bit from there. There are no closing costs or fees, which is awesome. Okay, guys, this is an important detail. And again, the importance of using a phone guide, because this is a question that I ask in there to every HELOC lender and something that I personally got hit on, and they call it out right here. So Bethpage will pay closing costs yada, yada, up to whatever. However, those closing costs, if you decide to close this HELOC within 36 months or the first 3 years, those closing costs will become your responsibility as the buyer. Okay, so true story, I actually opened a HELOC, used it, maxed it out, and then decided to do a cash out refinance. And when you do that, it closes the HELOC, and I got hit with a several $1,000 fee because it was an early termination fee. So always ask about this, and it's great to know if you want to open this up, you better make sure you plan to stay there, because as you can see, HELOC closing costs typically range from $500 to $15,000. All right, do not go into this without factoring in how long you're going to keep this open. Minimum credit score 670, that is very high, but again, this is a really great HELOC, so I can see why they probably want to protect their interest here. Max LTV is 80%. Again, that's pretty standard. So not a bad overall, but definitely want to dig in and make sure that this is right for your situation. Okay, best HELOC for a variety of options. New American Funding. Okay, minimum credit score here 620 up to 80%. Man, isn't this like the same as the top one? Again, and they don't give us many pros and cons here. Around 5 days. If you really do need a really fast one, I would want to compare this one to the first one. I think it was rate.com to see, which one is there. I would not suggest weighing speed into a HELOC lending decision. You don't want to just because you need the money quick, don't want to get yourself into like a bad HELOC for that reason. If you're interested in the HELOCs, I recommend you take your time and find a good one and get it set up for free so there's no out-of-pocket cost to you, and then it's available when you do need it. Instead of finding an opportunity, then you need it in 5 days, and then you get yourself in trouble trying to rush through this process. All right, best fixed rate HELOC lender figure. All right, pros around this HELOC. Fixed rate, well, I would hope so. Competitive interest rates, quick funding, option for secondary and investment properties. This is a big one. A lot of HELOCs are not available for second and investment properties. So I'd want to know a little bit more about that one. Excellent Trustpilot rating. Again, cool. Whoa, here we go. When you do see something too good to be true, then you want to look into some of the cons. Origination fee up to 4.99%, aka closing costs. Now, in this scenario, if you do have a lot of equity tied up in your secondary or investment properties, this is a scenario where I may consider paying closing costs because it's rare that you can actually find a HELOC lender to tap into those. Now, I've found some, but most of the time they're local and they're small, so it's hard to recommend out to the masses. But I may consider, depending, up to 5% essentially. I'd want to talk to them and see if I can negotiate down on that a little bit, but if you have a lot of equity and investment property, and this is the only HELOC lender you can find, and everything else about this looks pretty decent, and you have a plan that you actually probably want to use this money, I wouldn't recommend paying this just to have it open. But if you have a good plan of like, hey, I'm going to start this business, I really need this funding, and I want to tap into this equity, I would probably be your one-time, get out of jail free card to pay origination fees, aka closing costs, to open up a HELOC. Let's look a little bit more. Variable APR, 7 pretty much to 16. So this one does not have any prepayment penalties because you're paying those costs up front. So they're like, whatever, you can cancel whenever you want. A little bit higher credit score than we've seen, and a max LTV a little bit higher as well, 5% higher than what we've seen so far. So overall, not bad for a unique situation, but again, my personal preference is to not pay any closing costs, so I would probably not be a fan of that one. Okay, best HELOC for veterans, Navy Federal Credit Union. I actually have a HELOC with Navy Federal Credit Union, but let's hear what they say here. It's ideal for a long draw period. Okay, they have a high max LTV, 20-year draw period, no closing costs for sure. Platinum credit card, don't know what that is. They didn't get me one of those. The heck, Navy Fed. Good Trustpilot rating. Okay, the cons, slower funding than other lenders. Again, I would not rate HELOCs based on speed. Mine was pretty typical. I mean, these are going to be like a normal home purchase closing. In most cases, it's going to be roughly 30 days or so because they're going to fully underwrite you and the property. So let's see, membership. The membership requirement, if I remember right, you have to invest you have to open up a membership account with a minimum like $5 in there. So I would not call that a con, more of just falling within the guardrails that they have. And poor Android app. I mean, who really uses Android anyway? So get out of here with that. But no, in all seriousness, I wouldn't rate an app either. Like usually, as long as you can wire and log in on a computer, that is great. So shout out to all the veterans out there. I would recommend Navy Fed. My experience with them has been great for my HELOC. So cool. We'll move on. Best HELOC for bad credit. Okay, I know a lot of you guys reach out and ask me this question. So let's check out what the HELOC looks like for bad credit. Okay, the pros, they have a high LTV. You can qualify with a fair credit score. We'll read about that in a second. Pre-qualify with a soft credit pool. that's good. I wish more of these did that. Customer support via text. All right. Trustpilot, lower rates with other lenders, 1% origination fee. Again, this may be the second kind of get out of jail free card. Like if your only option is because you have bad credit to get a HELOC and you have to pay 1% origination. I mean, that's not terrible. 1% is pretty reasonable. So I may consider that here. But again, I do want to emphasize here, the HELOC is not a tool for someone who's not a good user of the credit that they have. So if you do have a poor credit score because of something silly you did a couple years back, you fixed it and now you're on the right track, then hey, this is probably a good option. But I never recommend a HELOC for someone who's not responsible with the credit they have. So keep that in mind. This is a huge risk. You are pulling equity out on your home, that place you live, and they will take it from you if you not pay. This is not a department store credit card where they're just going to call and bug you. Like, they will literally take your home. So do not, if you're not a good user of credit, open HELOCs. This is not for you. But again, here, I may look at that. Let's read a little bit more. Mini HELOC handler, yep, 680 with the lower. However, you only need a 580 credit score to open a HELOC here. So again, if you are a responsible person trying to build your credit back up and you are a little bit lower, this is not a bad option. I think I would definitely, if I was in that camp and I had a bright future, some opportunities out ahead that I would want to use this HELOC for, 1%, I think that's pretty reasonable for that risk that they're taking there. HELOC interest rates are higher, ranging 8.5 to 13. That's a little bit higher than we've seen before, but a 95% max LTV. That is the highest that we've seen so far. Yeah, that is another big pro and maybe a reason why you might want to consider paying that 1% origination fee if you are getting that benefit of the higher LTV. Okay, and this is cool here. You know, Lower is one of the best HELOC lenders for Trustpilot ratings, 96% overall given 5-star reviews. So again, yeah, 580 credit score, national, of course, and 95% LTV. Not a bad HELOC right there. I think I would have probably rated that a little higher relative to the others, depending on that situation. All right, best HELOC if you are self-employed. So this one is important for folks who primary income is a 1099 because most lenders want to see 2 years of W-2 or some way to show consistent income. So if you are 1099, if it's consistent for 2 to 3 years, you likely don't have any trouble, but this HELOC, I'm guessing, is going to solve that issue of where you are self-employed, your income is a little bit, all over the place, and you have trouble getting lending the traditional route. Let's check it out. So ideal for borrowers for dislike origination fees. Hey, sign me up. Okay, pros, competitive interest rates, fast closing, no origination fees, clear documentation requirements, and excellent mobile apps. Okay, cons, expensive closing costs. Bro, you just told me there's really no difference between origination fees and closing costs. So here we are, a little bait and switch here. Come on, PenFed. Do better than that. Let's keep going. Higher max LTV. Applying for credit can be more challenging if you're self-employed. We talked about that. Makes it simple. By clearly listing on the website the documentation that both Are you going to tell us here what we need? Credit union provides competitive HELOCs, although closing costs range from $500 to $8,500. Boo. Or don't act like this is a pro. There's no origination fees when you're charging closing costs. No prepayment penalty. Okay, that's a little pro there. 3.9 stars from Trustpilot. Not so hot. Minimum credit score, that's pretty high. And the max LTV is 80%. So again here, I mean, honestly, this is not great for me. But if you do find yourself in that position where you are self-employed and they're one of your only options and you have a good opportunity you want to use this HELOC to do, yeah, I mean, not bad. Let's move on. Best HELOC for an investment property. Let's go. This is my audience here. All right. Borrowers looking for money fast. Pros, available for secondary and investment homes. High max LTV, quick funding, pre-qual with a soft credit pool. Excellent trust bar. Okay, what are the cons? Lower rates compared to other lenders. High minimum withdrawal and no mobile apps. Okay, let's read a little bit more. So they can be a little bit deceiving. Okay, many HELOCs are only available for primary residence. We talked about that a little bit. Could be an ideal choice. Rates start as low as 8%, but you must withdraw a minimum of $50,000 or 75% of your credit limit at closing, whatever is greater. All right, guys. So I typically do not like a minimum required withdrawal when you open this HELOC. Now, the reason they do this is because they want to make money on you. So they require you to take that out. And as soon as you take out that HELOC, they're going to start earning interest on whatever amount you withdraw. So this is like a hidden way to get some origination fees, aka closing costs, aka something out of you, which is what I try to avoid. I try to get people to open HELOCs when they're responsible at zero risk to them, so that they have it for a rainy day, something happens. I talk about all that in the book of why I recommend opening those up. But if you got to pay all these fees to do so, that kind of defeats the purpose, unless you do, like I said, have a definitive opportunity right in front of you that you know you're going to use this money to take advantage of. Then maybe you want to look at these here too. One hack that I've used before when I really needed a specific HELOC that had a required minimum withdrawal is I asked them, can I pay this off in like, any amount of time? So I literally took the withdrawal out, and the next day I paid it all back off. So then I think I paid 1 day of interest on that and was back in a normal case where, I had that money available and I was no longer paying on it and could use it when I then needed to. So just think about that. Always ask that question and make sure that you know what situation you're going in for. A high minimum credit score here, but if you can use that on investment properties, again, they're going to want that higher credit score. 90% LTV is pretty solid for an investment property there. What is a HELOC? Who knows? How do they work? Well, if you want to know all these questions, you can read this little blip of an article, or you can check out my channel that I've devoted to HELOCs and investing with the HELOC. My book's available on Amazon, again, with this phone guide. You can buy this separately on Amazon for a couple bucks. It comes with like 15 guides that you can like tear out, fill it out. Or with my book, you get a digital copy that you can print as many as you want as well. Just try to give whatever is easiest there. But if you want the video breaking down the full phone guide and all the questions I ask, if you want, you can even create your own DIY version. I don't do this for the money. Check out this video here that walks you through the whole phone guide, how to use it, what specific questions to ask. If you guys got any value out of this video, I'd appreciate it. Like, subscribe, or share. But with that, we'll catch you next time.